Good morning, Jet fans. What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to recap Robert Saleh's press conference. He spoke with the media for the first time in a long time today, and we have a ton of things to get into. I am amped up because we have some solid New York Jets content today. So normally on Mondays, I do mock draft Mondays, and don't worry, a mock draft is coming out later this afternoon, but with Robert Saleh speaking to the media this morning, more important to cover that this morning and then get into the mock draft and the fun later on in the afternoon. All right, so let's get it rocking and rolling first. Aaron Rodgers was a topic of conversation because naturally that is going to be the case. Quarterbacks are going to get asked about, especially when your quarterback is coming off an injury. And Aaron Rodgers is expected to be ready for the spring. So 7-on-7s, all that OTA stuff, which is honestly like not that crazy far away, which is good because I don't know, for someone who covers the NFL full time, like it's great that there is content and things to talk about pretty much year round with this sport. Very few dead periods, but that's good news about Aaron Rodgers and also kind of expected, right? Like he was cleared to practice at the end of the 2023 season and was throwing and practicing and would have made a return if the New York Jets were still in the mix and involved in a playoff spot. So I'm not crazy concerned about him, and his recovery. Obviously, they're not going to rush it, but I think it's more than enough time for him in order to, go to ramp up. He'll be there. He'll be active with it. So that is definitely a plus in my eyes. So this was maybe the most controversial part, I would imagine, of the press conference as Robert Saleh was asked about if the Jets didn't make the playoffs, would he call that a failure? And he said, I'll never say that. Although he did follow it up with saying winning off seasons doesn't matter. You have to win football games. I believe in my heart of hearts that Robert Saleh knows he needs to make the playoffs. I just don't think that as a head coach, you can come out. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that, right? Like you can absolutely come out and say like, yeah, my goal is to make the playoffs. We have to make the playoffs kind of a thing. And it would be nice for him to say that. But if he does come out and say that, and if for some reason they don't make the playoffs, then that just makes Woody Johnson's job even easier because he'd be like, hey, remember last, when was it? What are we in? March when you said that we have a playoff mandate and it would be a failure. So I have to move on from you now. I have to fire you. Now he knows. I would really hope that Robert Saleh is self-aware enough that he realizes that if the Jets don't make the playoffs, he's out of a job. Granted, he would more than likely catch on very, very quickly as a defensive coordinator. He is a fantastic, no one can dispute that he is a fantastic defensive coach. Going into year 4, it is still TBD whether or not he could be a head football coach. But I know this is going to be the main talking point from it, and it is a little bit frustrating. I understand where fans could come with their frustrations that he won't say that they have to make the playoffs, but you feel like he's got to know that, right? Or am I giving him too much benefit of the doubt? Also, he had a great quote that is definitely going to go make the rounds and go viral and has a ton of meme potential.
When you lose, you're a loser. I suck. Joe D sucks. We all suck. So it goes with the territory.
Free agency was something that Robert Saleh spoke a ton on, and he was asked about Bryce Huff, who was one of the Jets' marquee free agents that they let walk, and he spoke glowingly of Bryce Huff.
Bryce, elite pass rusher, closes games. He's people want to say that all he does is rush the passer, but all Mariano Rivera did was close 9th innings. So he's a pretty darn good pass rusher, and he's going to be great for Philadelphia.
I mean, look, nobody loves their players more than Robert Saleh, right? Like he talks glowingly about the 53rd man on the roster. So you have to take some of what Robert Saleh says with a grain of salt on these players, but I'm not going to get over this Bryce Huff one for a while. I'm just not. You guys know me by now. You should at least. I think I've made it pretty clear in my content that if the Jets do something that I like, I will tell you that, and I will be open and honest and be like, hey, I think this is a good move because X, Y, and Z. If they do something bad, I will say this is not good, and here's why. I will always do that. I pride myself on being honest. I have no reason to just come out and lie. I don't do things for views. I'm going to be honest with you. That was my goal from day one, and that's what I do, and that's why I think we have a good community here. The Jets handling of Bryce Huff is completely wrong. They botched it, and it's just so frustrating to hear him talk so highly about Bryce Huff, because he would have been a really nice piece to have on this team as the Jets are trying to close out games, in his words. Saleh also spoke about the Jets' needs at a couple different positions, quarterback and safety being two of them, and they are going to fill out the room. That to me means that for safety, if Ashton Davis doesn't catch on somewhere else, I could see them bring him in. Maybe the Jets take a bigger swing. There are some bigger name safeties still on the market, and granted, they're probably not going to get as much money as once originally anticipated because they're still hanging around in free agency 3 weeks into the thing. But maybe the Jets take a bigger swing than I'm expecting. Tony Adams and Chuck Clark, I think, is a nice duo. Is it an elite level one, or team's going to talk about it as one of the best duos in football? No, not unless Tony Adams takes a ridiculous step this year. But I do look at a healthy Chuck Clark as an upgrade over Jordan Whitehead. But the Jets could absolutely use more depth at that position. And then he talked about adding a third quarterback to this room. Zach Wilson's the hell out of here. That's what that means, number one. But also, number two, I would imagine the Jets draft a quarterback on late day 2 or day 3 in the NFL draft. And it makes a lot of sense because, one, you just never know. Maybe it hits, right? Like Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Brock Purdy was the last pick at the draft. You know, there's guys who have been, good starters in this league who are not taken in the first round. And yeah, it's a flyer, right? And who knows? Maybe it doesn't work. But Will Parkinson tweeted about this, and I think it was a very wise way of looking at it. Is maybe like probably most realistic scenario, guy becomes a good backup quarterback and spot starter for a few years, and then assuming Aaron Rodgers plays 2 years in 24 and 25 and then is out, Jets probably looking to draft a quarterback in 2026. So maybe he could help that young quarterback along, whether it's the young quarterback has to come in and start right away, or that he can start and hold down the fort in a short term, in a pinch, and then eventually pass it over to that next guy. So I think there's value in that. And the names, Spencer Rattler, Jordan Travis, Michael Pratt, any of those 3 guys are the ones that I think I look at the most, who make the most sense for the Jets later in the 3rd to 5th rounds, we'll say. Robert Saleh was asked about Corey Davis, and he said, our door is always going to be open to him. He has made it very well known how the New York Jets feel about Corey Davis. They love him. His market hasn't really materialized at all. There were reports that he was looking to go back closer to home. Home for him is down near Tennessee. I don't think he's going to go back to the Titans, but there are a bunch of teams in the South, whether it's Florida or Georgia, where you may who knows, maybe you catch on somewhere down there. But it's been very, very quiet. So if he does come back, I think it would be good insurance for Mike Williams, who is recovering from an injury. It would push Allen Lazard further down the roster, and adding Corey Davis wouldn't then stop you from going out and adding more in the NFL draft. Give me all the depth possible at wide receiver and offensive line. Both big needs for the Jets. Both could use more depth. I think it's important for the Jets to add at the pro market and also the NFL draft at both of those positions. Speaking on the offensive line, Robert Saleh confirmed that AVT will be at right guard, and they plan on keeping him there. That's fine with me. I know there's a lot of debate and a lot of talk about where he would play. My assumption was that the Jets wouldn't be able to find 2 new starting tackles in free agency, so I thought that AVT, there's a strong chance he was going to have to play one of the tackle spots, but I have no issue with him playing at guard. He was drafted with the plan to play at guard. They've moved him outside to tackle each of the last 2 years, but they are going to try to get it to where he can just stick at right guard. Good, fine. I'm good with that. I think him next to Morgan Moses is going to be a really good right side of the line, especially in the run game. And that, I think, is a sneaky underrated part of this Jets offensive line right now, is how aggressive they're going to be in the run game. Saleh was asked about Keith Carter, and he had some praise for Keith Carter, who says that he is a hard-charging football coach. Said when they were in Tennessee, they were one of the best running teams in the NFL, and they fell off when he left. I'm sure that has nothing to do with Derrick Henry, and then Derrick Henry getting old. He called him a damn good football coach. Sometimes the messaging can get lost in the tone. You guys know my stance on Keith Carter. I hope that he is somehow better in 2024 than he has been in his entire career, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Keith Carter wasn't the only one that Robert Saleh praised. Hackett and Downing got some praise as well, because Robert Saleh let it out that they're comfortable with Hackett and Downing, that they are not going to add any more to the staff. And guess what? Todd Downing is essentially going to be the quarterback coach. Granted, with Aaron Rodgers, do you really need a big-time quarterback coach? No, but I think this kind of speaks to no one really wanted to sign on to work with Hackett and Downing, which is obviously clearly not ideal. But what is he going to say at the same time? Like, I hear you, I get that, but the Hackett, Downing, Keith Carter offensive staff really leaves a lot to be desired. They are banking on Aaron Rodgers coming in here and fixing a lot of this. Can he do it because he is that level of a player? Of course. Yes, he can. The plan was and will be in 2024, but in 2023, it was going to be Hackett giving the formations to Aaron Rodgers, Rodgers going to the line, seeing the defense, adjusting as need be, and then calling the play at the line of scrimmage. That's how the Jets are going to run their offense in 2024. This was a lot to get into today, but I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. What did you make of Saleh's presser? Let me know. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new. Give a like before you go, and I'll catch you guys next time.